The workbook, Preparing for Success After Prison, is the product of a tremendous amount of work, all part of our advocacy work to try and change outcomes of the system. My name is Michael Santos. I'm the founder of Prison Professors, and I'm also the author of Preparing for Success After Prison. So I'd like to give you a little bit of backstory on what people will receive if they purchase the workbook. So the workbook is a 30-hour program. And it's a 30-hour self-directed program that introduces people to the S.T.R.A.I.G.H.T guide. And it encourages them to focus on what they can control to prepare for success upon release, rather than what the system is doing to them or what how the system is holding them. Regardless of where a person is being held, the person can always work to develop a better vocabulary. The person can always work to develop better writing skills, to develop better reading skills, to develop better math skills, and to develop better critical thinking skills, and most importantly, a self-directed work ethic. I spent the first year of my journey in solitary confinement, and I had to become very fluent and comfortable with self-directed learning. But it really changed my life. And that is the reason that we have a series of books and workbooks to help other people realize you don't have to depend on the government or the system to open opportunities for you. You've really got to depend on yourself. And the harder you work to develop a set of skills, the more skillful you are going to become in opening new opportunities that you could leverage to a better life. These are not lessons that I created on my own. They are lessons that I learned from masters, beginning with Socrates. Now, when I was locked in solitary confinement, I was facing life in prison without the possibility of parole. So the first time I read the book of the Republic by Plato, and I became exposed to Socrates and Socratic thinking, I didn't know who he was. I didn't know anything about him. But what I really admired about him is he was facing a death sentence. And instead of complaining about the situation that he was in, he felt as though he was going to carry out that sentence with his dignity intact, proud of all of the work that he had done that put him where he was, even though he was locked inside of a jail cell, knowing his life was about to end. And I remember lying in my prison cell and putting my hands behind my back and staring at the ceiling as I felt the compression of walls and ceiling closing in on me. And it helped me start to think differently. It helped me start to think about the type of people I wanted to meet on the other side of the journey. There wasn't anything I could do to change the past. I had broken the law. A jury had convicted me of trafficking in cocaine, and a judge was going to sentence me to a minimum sentence of 10 years and the possibility of life. I didn't know how much I would get, but I knew, after having been in solitary confinement for a year, I knew that I hated being in prison. So I had to begin thinking about what steps can I take today to sow seeds for the future I wanted to build? And there wasn't, I didn't have an opportunity to go to a classroom. I didn't have an opportunity to learn from a teacher. I had to learn on my own. And I was very grateful that that book about Socrates helped me learn how to think differently. And what I learned to think about was, who would the people be that I wanted to meet in the future? And I thought about people like my case manager that I'd meet someday in the future, the warden that might have discretion over my future. I thought about an employer that might give me a job, or a probation officer that might influence my liberty. Well, first of all, I asked, is there anything I could do that might influence the way they see me? And the answer that I came up with was, yes, there probably is something that I could do, but what is it? I didn't know what it was. So I had to be thinking about that at the start of my journey while I was locked in solitary. Just like somebody who's in prison today should be thinking about, what challenges am I going to have to overcome on the other side of this journey? The sooner you start thinking about that, the better off you're going to be. So in this particular book, Preparing for Success After Prison, I'm striving to teach the lessons that I learned from reading about Socrates. I learned that if I was going to persuade somebody to give me a new opportunity or to open an opportunity for me, I would have to demonstrate that I don't want to be a criminal anymore, even though I knew I would be in prison for a long time. And so I came up with this three-pronged plan that I've written about in all of my books, that I've spoken about. I'm not saying it's the only plan, but it's the plan that worked for me. I'm going to have to get an education while I'm in prison. I'm going to have to contribute to society in meaningful, measurable ways while I'm in prison. And I am going to have to build a strong support system. And if I could do that while I'm in prison, I believed new opportunities would open. By setting that course of action, everything changed for me. I was no longer a victim of being locked in solitary. Instead, I say, okay, I've got an opportunity right now to start building, to start preparing for success after prison. And it was really reading that particular book and then a few others, including the autobiography of Frederick Douglass. So one was really impactful to me, was about the social contract by Jean-Jacques Rousseau in his book Emily, which really spoke about every citizen's duty and obligation to live in accordance with the law. We all have the right to change laws we don't agree with. We don't have the right to break laws. But by thinking about these different concepts, I learned to think differently. And that's what I strive to share with people in jails and prisons. Don't wait for the system to change your life. Don't live as if you are the victim of what's happened. Instead, figure out ways to empower yourself and prepare for success after release. If you do that, your life will change. At least that's what I believe. And there's really 10, it starts off with these 10 concepts that we call the S.T.R.A.I.G.H.T guide. The first concept, module 1, is about really developing this ability to define success, to know what it is you're after. I knew that I wanted to get out of prison and be successful. I knew that I wanted to get out of prison and control my own destiny. I didn't want to live a life of mediocrity. I wanted real success, meaning millions of dollars, so that I could provide a home for my family, so that I could build resources to live the life that I want, but more importantly, so that I could have resources to do what I wanted. I needed freedom of time so I could make an impact and change the system. I don't make any money from that, but it gives me a sense that the long journey I served in prison had some meaning. So for me, defining success might be very different than you. But if you're going through the workbook, I'm hoping that you will develop a skill to figure it out. Module 2 in the program is really helping people learn how to set very clearly defined goals that align with how you define success. Don't set goals for the system, the prison system, or anybody other than you. What do you want? The more clarity you could bring to your definition of success, the more skillful you will become in setting very clear goals. For me, if I wanted to come out of prison and be able to walk into any room and do business and do what I wanted to do, I would have to develop these skills. So for me, it meant I have to get a university degree within 10 years. It meant if I wanted to contribute to society in meaningful, measurable ways, it meant for me, I wanted to become a published author. If I was going to find a strong support network, finding people, 10 people that I didn't know and that didn't know me and persuade them to believe in me, I would have to build a pathway to get there. What are the goals that you have to set? That's what you would learn in this workbook. Then those are the 2 prerequisites. The other 8 concepts are really about personal development and really working to reach your highest potential. The third module is about attitude, having the right attitude. What does it mean? Well, it means that you're making 100% commitment to success. 4, you've got to aspire to something more. I aspired to live a life of meaning and relevance and dignity. What do you aspire to? 5, you've got to take action. You can't just talk about wanting to be successful. You've got to truly go for what you want. 6, you've got to create accountability metrics so that you know whether you are on track or whether you have to adjust course or whether you have to, accelerate or slow down or pivot, right? Your own accountability metrics are going to help you, which is what we teach in Module 6. Module 7 is about awareness. You've got to keep your head in the game. You got to be aware of the opportunities that are around you, and you got to make the world aware of you. Number 8, you got to be authentic. You can't talk about wanting to be successful. You got to be successful. And that's a journey. That's a path where you are creating your own plans, putting your priorities in place, where you are developing your own tools, tactics, and resources, and you're making adjustments as you need to make them. And you're holding yourself accountable and executing the plan every single day. That's the art of authenticity. Number 9 is you got to celebrate every achievement because you might be in prison for a long time. And it's difficult unless you're celebrating the incremental achievements that you're making. Once you start doing that, it feels like you're climbing, making one step after another. And 10 is you got to live in gratitude, right? The 10th module is about appreciation, grateful for the blessings that come your way. I'm super grateful for the life I get to live and for all that I learned from leaders while I went through prison. But now I've got a responsibility to try and share that with as many people as possible. And that's what I do with prisonprofessors.org. It's a nonprofit. Everything is free. If you buy a workbook, 100% of the revenues goes to support the nonprofit. The commitment that I make is to always try to prove worthy as a good steward of your capital by buying those books. But guess what? If you don't have the money to buy the books, apply for a scholarship. To the extent that we have the money, we'll send it to you for free. That's my commitment to trying being the change that I want to see in the world. So Preparing for Success After Prison is a great course. It's completely self-directed. We've got videos and stuff to go with it, but I don't know if you can get those. But we really hope that you will use it as a tool to accelerate your path to success. My name is Michael Santos. I'm the founder of Prison Professors. I believe in you.